I'm Andrea, 34, standing on the terrace of my mansion, overlooking the twinkling lights of Silicon Valley. I can't help but recall the day my family's faces turned ashen with shock. It was during the garden party I hosted, a sophisticated event that was supposed to be a simple family gathering but turned into a turning point in my relationship with them. Growing up in a small town in Ohio, I was always the odd one out in my family. My parents, Henry and Louise Thompson, were traditional folks. Dad worked as a factory foreman, and Mom was a school librarian. They valued stability and conformity above all else, and they instilled these values in my two older brothers, Ethan and Jake. Ethan, 8 years older than me, became a banker, following in Dad's footsteps of seeking a secure job. Jake, 6 years my senior, became a teacher, a career that Mom highly approved of for its stability. I, on the other hand, was drawn to technology from a young age. While my brothers brought home trophies for sports and academic achievements, I was spending my free time in the basement, taking apart old computers and trying to build my own. Mom would often sigh and say, "Andrea, why can't you be more like your brothers? They have normal hobbies." Dad was more blunt. When I showed him the simple website I built at the age of 13, he just said, "This is a waste of time. You should focus on something that will get you a real job." In school, my teachers recognized my talent in computer science. Mr. Davis, my computer teacher, encouraged me to apply for a coding competition. I worked day and night on my project, a software that could optimize local business schedules. When I won first place at the regional level, I was over the moon. But when I told my family the news, Mom just asked, "Is this going to help you get into a good college, like Ethan did?" Dad added, "Don't get too excited. It's just a small competition." When it came to college, my parents expected me to go to the local state university and study something practical, like business or education. But I had been accepted into a top-tier technology program in California. When I told them the news, Dad nearly choked on his coffee. "California? That's so far away. And for what? Computer science? You'll never make a decent living doing that," he roared. Mom was more tearful, saying, "We can't afford to send you that far, and it's such a risky choice." Despite their opposition, I was determined to pursue my dreams. I cobbled together scholarships, student loans, and worked part-time jobs to support myself. In college, I met Professor Lisa Carter, who became my mentor. She saw my potential and encouraged me to start my own tech venture. I share my idea of creating a platform to integrate various business software with her, and she was very supportive. However, when I told my family about my startup idea during a rare visit home, they were dismissive. Ethan laughed and said, "Do you know how many startups fail every year? You need to be realistic, Andrea." Jake added, "Maybe you should get a job at a big tech company first and gain some experience." After graduation, with only $2,500 in savings and my laptop, I moved to Silicon Valley. I lived in a tiny studio apartment, sharing it with another startup enthusiast. I worked odd jobs during the day and coded at night. My family's skepticism turned into pity. Mom would call and say, "Andrea, come back home. Ethan knows someone at the bank who can get you an entry-level position." Dad was even harsher. "This startup nonsense has gone on long enough. It's time to grow up." But then a turning point came. At a local tech meetup, I met a woman named Lily. She was a business strategist with years of experience in the tech industry. When I demonstrated my early version of the integration platform, she was immediately interested. "This is exactly what the market needs," she said. We partnered up and prepared for a pitch competition. Before the competition, I called my family to share my excitement. Mom just said, "I hope you don't get your hopes up too high. These things are very competitive." Dad added, "Don't waste your time and money on this." But I didn't let their words discourage me. At the competition, we won the grand prize of $40,000 and caught the attention of several investors. When I called my family to tell them the news, their responses were lukewarm at best. Mom said, "That's nice, dear. But don't spend it all at once." Dad warned, "Be careful. This is just the beginning, and it's still a long way to success." With the prize money and additional investment, my startup, Synchrotech, took off. Within a few years, it became a well-known name in the tech industry. I became a millionaire on paper, and I bought my dream mansion in the hills overlooking Silicon Valley. As photos of my mansion spread on social media, my family's attitude started to change. They began to call more often, with subtle requests. Ethan asked if I could help his son with a college internship at my company. Jake mentioned that he needed some advice on using technology in the classroom. Mom casually asked about the cost of my mansion, and Dad inquired about my business strategy. Then came the annual family reunion. For years, it had been hosted by my Uncle Tom and Aunt Martha at their lake house. I had always been the subject of comparison and criticism at these reunions. This year, when I tentatively said I might attend, I received a private email from Uncle Tom. Andrea, after careful consideration, we think this year's reunion might not be the best fit for you. Your lifestyle and success might make others feel uncomfortable. I was heartbroken. After all I had achieved, they still couldn't accept me. But then, anger took over. I decided to host my own garden party on the same weekend as the family reunion. I invited every extended family member except Uncle Tom, Aunt Martha, and my parents. As the party day approached, I worked with the best event planner in the area to transform my mansion into an enchanted place. When the first guests arrived, their faces were filled with awe. Cousin Sarah gasped, "Andrea, this is incredible. I had no idea you had achieved so much." During the party, Uncle Tom and Aunt Martha showed up unannounced, followed by my parents. Their faces turned pale as they took in the luxury of my home. Dad's eyes widened in disbelief, and Mom's mouth hung open. Ethan and Jake were also stunned. Rachel, my business partner, stood up to give a toast to Andrea, who saw a problem no one else was solving and created a revolutionary solution. Her success is not by luck, but by hard work and determination. Uncle Tom shifted uncomfortably in his seat, and Dad looked away. Later, I had a long, overdue conversation with my parents. Dad finally said, "You've done well for yourself. Better than we expected." I replied, "You expected me to fail because you never believed in my dreams. For years, you dismissed my passion for technology." Mom's eyes filled with tears as she said, "We were wrong. We just didn't understand your world." The days after the party brought a flood of thank you messages from relatives. My parents also reached out, asking to meet for coffee. At the coffee shop, they admitted their mistakes and said they wanted to support me from now on. Looking back, I realized that the validation I once craved from my family may never be perfect. But I've learned that true success comes from within, from believing in myself and pursuing my dreams, regardless of others' opinions. And my mansion, once a symbol of revenge, has now become a place where I can be myself, surrounded by people who truly appreciate me.